The Nature of Personal Reality, a Seth book by Jane Roberts, read by Martin John, Part 2, the next chapter 11, to be titled, The Conscious Mind as the Carrier of Beliefs. Your beliefs in relation to health and satisfaction. That is the heading. The nature of your personal beliefs in a large measure directs the kinds of emotions you will have at any given time. They will feel aggressive, happy, despairing, or determined according to events that happen to you. Your beliefs about yourself in relation to them, and your ideas of who and what you are. You will not understand your emotions unless you know your beliefs. It will seem to you that you feel aggressive or upset without reason, or that your feelings sweep down upon you without cause if you do not learn to listen to the beliefs within your own conscious mind, for they generate their own emotions. One of the strongest general causes of depression, for example, is that the belief that your conscious mind is powerless either in the face of exterior circumstances thrust upon you from without or before strong emotional events that seem to be overwhelming from within. Psychology, religion, science, in one way or another, all of these have added to the confusion by stripping the conscious mind of its directing qualities and viewing it as a stepchild of the self. The schools of positive thinking try to remedy this situation, but often do more harm than good because they attempt to force beliefs upon you that you would like to hold, but do not in your present state of confusion. Many such philosophies make you cower at the idea of entertaining negative thoughts or emotions. In all cases, the clues to your emotional experience and behavior lie in your systems of belief, some more evident to you than others, but all available to you consciously. If you believe that you are of little merit, inferior, and filled with guilt, then you may react in several ways according to your personal background and the framework in which you accepted those beliefs. You may be terrified of aggressive feelings because, it seems, others so much more powerful than you could retaliate. If you believe that all such thoughts are wrong, you will inhibit them and feel all the more guilty, which will generate aggressiveness against yourself and further deepen your sense of unworthiness. Now, if you read a book in your situation that instructs you to contemplate goodness, to turn your thoughts immediately to love and light when you feel irritated, you're in for trouble. Such practices will only serve to make you more frightened of your natural emotions. You will not understand why you have them any better than you did before. You may only hide them more cleverly, and perhaps become ill if, given the situation, you are not already. The harder you try to be good in such a case, the more inferior you will become in your own mind. What do you think of yourself, your daily life, your body, your relationships with others? Ask yourself these questions. Write down the answers or speak them into a recorder, but in one way or another, objectify them. When you feel the rise of unpleasant emotions, take a moment and make an effort to identify their source. The answers are far more available than you may have previously believed. Accept such feelings as your own in the moment. Do not shove them underneath ignore them, or try to substitute what you think of as good thoughts. First, be aware of the reality of your feelings. As you become more aware of your beliefs over a period of time, you will see how they bring forth certain feelings automatically. A man who is sure of himself is not angry at every slight done him, nor does he carry grudges. A man who fears for his own worth, however, is furious under such conditions. The free flow of your emotions will always lead you back to your conscious beliefs if you do not impede them. Your feelings always change the chemical balance of your body and alter its hormonal output. But the danger comes only when you refuse to face the contents of your conscious mind. Even the intent to know yourself, to face the reality of your experience, can be of great benefit, generating emotions that will provide an energy, an impetus to begin. No one can do this for you. You may believe that good mental health means being always cheerful, resolute and kind, and never crying or showing disappointment. That belief alone can lead you to deny quite natural dimensions of human experience, and to impede the flow of emotions that could otherwise cleanse both your body and your mind. If you are convinced that feelings are dangerous, then again that belief itself will generate a fear of all of them, and you may become almost panic-stricken if you display anything but the most reasonable, calm behavior. Your emotions then may strike you as highly unpredictable, extremely powerful, and to be kept down at all costs. Such an attempt to strangle natural feeling is bound to take its toll, but it is the belief itself that is to blame, and not the emotions. Any of the conditions mentioned puts you out of touch with your inner sense of balance. The natural grace of your being becomes disturbed. The conscious mind is meant to align all of your capabilities in accordance with its beliefs about the nature of reality. Those resources are considerable, for they include the deepest aspects of your creativity and powers far beneath consciousness of which you are only dimly aware. You cannot will yourself to be happy by believing that you have no right to happiness, or that you are unworthy of it. You cannot tell yourself to release aggressive thoughts if you think it is wrong to free them. So you must come to grips with your beliefs in all instances. If you have been told, again, that the Spirit is good, in fact perfect, and that you must then be perfect in all your ways, while at the same time you believe in the imperfection of the body, you will always be in conflict with yourself. If it seems to you that the soul is degraded by its alliance with the flesh, then you will not be able to enjoy your sense of grace, for you will not consider it possible. Your beliefs will direct your very interpretation of various kinds of emotions. Many people, for example, are convinced that anger is always negative. It can be the most arousing and therapeutic emotion under certain circumstances. You can then realize that you have cowered before contradictory beliefs for years, rise up in anger against them, and quite literally begin a new life of freedom. Normal aggressiveness is basically a natural kind of communication, particularly in social orders, a way of letting another person know that in your terms they have transgressed, and therefore a method of preventing violence, not of causing it. In animals, natural aggression is used with the greatest biological integrity. It is, on the one hand, ritualized, and on the other hand, perfectly spontaneous. Its signals are understood. The various degrees, postures, and indications of natural animal aggressiveness are all steps in a series of communications in which the animal encounters are made clear. To a large extent, a highly involved series of symbolic actions are carried out long before any battle takes place, if it does finally. The display of the aggressive behavior, however, far more frequently prevents an actual combat situation. Man has highly charged contradictory attitudes about aggression, and his beliefs about it cause many of his mass and private problems. To some degree, we will touch upon those dilemmas in this book. In your society, and to some extent in others, the natural communication of aggression has broken down. You confuse violence with aggression, and do not understand aggression's creative activity or its purpose as a method of communication to prevent violence. You deliberately make great effort, in fact, to restrain the communicative elements of aggression while ignoring its many positive values, until its natural power becomes dammed up, finally exploding into violence. Violence is a distortion of aggression.
Give us a moment.
Birth is an aggressive action, the thrust outward with great impetus of a self-form within a body into a new environment. Any creative idea is aggressive. Violence is not aggressive. It is instead a passive surrender to emotion which is not understood or evaluated, only feared, and at the same time sought. Violence is basically an overwhelming surrender, and in all violence there is a great degree of suicidal emotion, the antithesis of creativity. Both killer and victim in a war, for instance, are caught up in the same kind of passion, but the passion is not aggressive. It is its opposite, the desire for destruction. Know that yearning is made up of feelings of despair caused by a sense of powerlessness, not of power. Aggressiveness leads to action, to creativity, and to life. It does not lead to destruction, violence, or annihilation. Let us make a very simple example involving a kind and good man in a fairly ordinary environment within your society. He's been taught that it is manly to be aggressive, but he believes that this means fighting. As an adult, he frowns upon fighting. He cannot hit his boss, though he may want to. At the same time, his church may tell him to turn the other cheek when he is upset and to be kind, gentle, and understanding. His society teaches him that such qualities are feminine. He spends his life trying to hide what he thinks of as aggressive, violent behavior, and trying to be understanding and kind instead. The stereotype is, of course, unrealistic, having to do with distorted concepts concerning the male and the female. But here we will merely consider the aspects of aggressiveness. Because he's trying to be so understanding, our man inhibits expression of many of the normal irritations that would serve as a natural system of communication between, say, his superior and himself at work, or perhaps with the members of his family at home. Simultaneously, all of these inhibited reactions seek release, for the manifestation of aggressive feelings set up natural balances within the body itself, as well as serving as a communication system with others. When his system has had enough, our friend may then indeed react with violent behavior. He might suddenly find himself in a fight, initiating one, and the smallest incident may serve as a trigger. He could seriously hurt himself or someone else. As a rule, the animals have better sense. Your mind and your body, therefore, are quite equipped to handle aggression. Violence occurs only when the natural expression of aggression has been short-circuited. The sense of power felt during such episodes is a result of repressed energy suddenly released, but the individual is always at the mercy of that energy then, submerged within it and passively carried with it. The fear of your own emotions can do far more damage than their expression, because the apprehension builds up a charge that intensifies the energy behind them. Because you have conscious minds, you have great leeway in the manner in which you can express aggression. But the animal's heritage is still retained in its own way. A frown is a natural method of communication, saying, "You have upset me," or "I am upset." If you tell yourself to smile when you feel like scowling, then you are tampering with your natural expression and denying to another a legitimate communication that tells how you feel. When a man or woman always smiles at you, the smile can be like a mask. You do not know whether or not you are communicating with such a person. The sound of the voice, again, follows its own patterns, and natural aggression should and will color it at times. There are many biological signs shown by the body, all meant as communications to others on a creative basis, as warnings to whatever degree. Each is automatic in its own way and yet ritualistic, a dance of muscle in motion with its own meaning, and biologically understood. These are all constructive. They are meant to elicit reactions from others and to arrive at new points of understanding, a balance of rights. When your conscious thoughts interfere with such processes, you are in deep trouble. The animal's behavior pattern is more limited than your own, in a way freer and more automatically expressed, but narrower in that the events an animal encounters are not as extensive as your own. You cannot appreciate your spirituality unless you appreciate your creaturehood. It is not a matter of rising above your nature, but of evolving from the full understanding of it. There is a difference. You will not attain spirituality or even a happy life by denying the wisdom and experience of the flesh. You can learn more from watching the animals than you can from a guru or a minister, or from reading my book. But first you must divest yourselves of the idea that your creaturehood is suspect. Your humanness did not emerge by refusing your animal heritage, but upon an extension of what it is. When you try to be spiritual by cutting off your creaturehood, you become less than joyful, fulfilled, satisfied natural creatures, and fall far short of understanding true spirituality. Many who say they believe in the power of thought are so afraid of it that they inhibit it in themselves. avoiding any that appear negative or harmful. The slightest aggressive expression is blocked. Thoughts can kill, these people think, as if the individual against whom such an impulse was directed had no protective, life-giving energies of his or her own, and no natural defense. Here, often, and for various reasons, you find a hidden and distorted sense of power that says, I am so powerful that I could kill you with my thought, and yet I refuse to do so. No one, and no one thought, is that powerful. If thoughts alone could kill, you would not have the overpopulation problem. Each person has its own built-in energy and protection. You accept only those ideas and thoughts that fit in with your own system of beliefs, and even then there are various safeguards. No man dies unless he wants to die, and for a much better reason than that you may want him to. Sometimes you think of suicide as ignominious and passive, but of war as aggressive and powerful. Both are equally the result of passivity and distorted aggression, and of natural pathways of communication not used or understood. You think of flowers in terms of gentleness, beauty, and goodness, and yet every time a new bud opens, there is a great thrust of joyful aggression that is hardly passive, and a daring and courage that reaches actively outward. Without aggression, your body would be denied of its growth, the cells within it caught in inertia. Aggressiveness is at the base of the magnificent bursting of creativity. That's the end of dictation and the end of our session. If you want something on probabilities, I will give it to you at another time. And it will be, though briefly, discussed along with some material on reincarnation in this book. Peace, light, and love. Aloha.